Thanks.
So for more on how the former vice president's reversal could affect the race, we're joined by Joe Borelli, Republican New York City councilman. He represents Staten Island and is a supporter of President Trump, and Kristen Hawn, the former communications director for the Democratic Blue Dog Coalition. Councilman, let me start with you. What do you think this change says about the pressure in the Democratic Party that the vice president is facing?
Well, I think it certainly shows that this is no longer the party of Joe Biden. I think he made a major miscalculation here because this doesn't make him any more competitive in the general election. If you are a single-issue pro-choice voter, he still isn't the candidate for you. But if you are someone who was a moderate Democrat, part of the 30% of Democrats that are putting him in the lead right now, say an Irish Catholic family in Pittsburgh, say that just the type of Democratic voter the party needs to win back the White House, he may not be your candidate anymore. It's a major miscalculation. This is something that will be seen as a mistake by him in the long run.
Do you think, Councilman, that he could be pushed too far to the left by the pressure from the more progressive candidates?
Sure. Look, you know, he was the candidate, again, playing for the long game, playing for the general election. But this is only a response to pressure from the left. People do have deeply held beliefs on abortion. I find it very odd that this is someone who would change his belief twice in 1 week. This is something that's only done for political purposes, not for any, I think, strongly considered decision.
Kristen, how does he defend this switch?
So, you know, as somebody who actually is in the middle, and I work with a lot of moderate members, I disagree. I don't think it's the wrong decision. I think, you know, you have a career as long as his is, and, you know, you should be able to change your mind. I think that women's health and health care is under assault in a number of different states, and he decided to change his mind, and he explained why he did it, and I think that that's okay. He's also he's also rejecting these ideas of socialism. I do not think it's an indication that the members or the candidates on the far left are pushing him in any sort of direction when it comes to, you know, socialism or, you know, Medicare for all. He's rejected those ideas.
But you know, there's a difference between changing your mind and being a politician who evolves over time. But this was 4 decades plus, long-held belief. Privately, he's Roman Catholic, says he's against abortion, and suddenly he just changes, obviously, something that he's long held. So, Kristen, how does he defend himself against those attacks from those who think he's doing it for political expediency?
I think anybody who knows or has worked on both sides of the aisle with Joe Biden knows that he doesn't do much for political expediency without being thoughtful about it. He's was always a thoughtful senator, thoughtful public servant, and I think that he can defend it. Again, you know, I think in the last 40 years, you know, we have not been in time like this where women's reproductive rights have been threatened like they are now. And so I think, you know, he's also, if you're talking about politics, I mean, he's got to appeal to what we saw in the midterms, women voters, college-educated women voters. And, you know, if he wants to win the general election, I think that you have to appeal to those women who by and large, support this position.
But, Joe, you know, Councilman, do you think America knows that he's thoughtful? As Kristen says, he's thinking this through, and it's not done just to try and gain points.
No, I don't think this could be seen as anything but political expediency. You know, again, this is an issue that is so fundamental to who people are. This is a matter of life and death. And I respect that there are positions on both sides of the argument that are strongly held by individuals. It's just not common for people to entrench themselves on one side of an argument after having been on the other side of the argument, say, for the past 40 years, and then within a day or two change because your advisors, your campaign officials, and Alyssa Milano, of all people, decided that you're no longer fit to represent the Democratic Party. If he wants to be president of the United States, he really needs to focus on winning back moderate Dems in the swing states. I don't think this helps him one bit. I don't think you know, anyone who listens to Alyssa Milano is going to abandon their support for, say, Elizabeth Warren and now jump on the Biden train.
Well, you know, he's got a lot of experience, and he's obviously banking on that. Here's what David Hersani tweeted out. He's with the Federalist. He said, Biden will make the argument that his experience matters. But if he was wrong about everything and admits it, then what does experience mean? And let me point to one of the glaring parts of this, and that is the Osama bin Laden raid. This is from Political 4 years ago. After most officials present urged Obama to go for it, the president turned to Biden. Joe, what do you think? He asked. According to an account Biden gave months later. Mr. President, my suggestion is don't go, Biden said. Obama, of course, ignored his deputy's advice and dispatched Navy SEAL Team 6 to kill the al-Qaeda leader. Joe Biden was on the wrong side of it. So, Kristen, what happens when they start bringing up the fact he was against the bin Laden raid or free trade or that he voted for the Iraq war? How does he defend himself against all that if indeed he claims experience matters?
I mean, I think this is something that he, had to take into account when you have and you've got Neil Hill, you've got all a number of different things. You have a history. I mean, you have a career that's as long as his, spanning changes over time. You're going to have to defend your record. So I think that's just something that he's going to have to do. And he's an honest person. He can change with the times. He's somebody who, as a moderate Democrat, myself, and have ran a number of different races all across the country in moderate races. I think that he is somebody that that we can get behind. I don't agree that that he's somebody just because of this one decision that the moderates are going to abandon.
Joe, quickly, do you think people just look at one thing or two things, or they just take the overall picture?
No, I think you're right in the point you made, Eric, and I think she's right also that Joe Biden's a pretty honest guy, but because of that, he's going to spend so much time over the next several months apologizing and making excuses for so many of the things he voted for. He was on the wrong side, according to Democrats, on a lot of issues, and this is what's going to really drive his poll numbers, perhaps at a peak that they are now, down, I think.
New York City Councilman Joe Borelli, Kristen Hawn. That is the debate over the former vice president. Thank you both for coming in this Saturday.